Hi there. In this video we are going to be attempting to change the battery in this FOSSIL Big Tic watch. I could use a bit more dedicated tools to do this, but I prefer to do it the easiest way with tools that most people might have around the house. So for example, I'm going to use a SIM eject tool to undo this. So I'm pressing on the pin that's keeping the latch together. Had my hand right here, so when it jumps out it bounces into my finger and doesn't fly across the room. You will have a hard time finding it. Put this away, remembering what hole it was, quite important. And now again, my camera decided to stop recording, but luckily I was on it and I saw it. You don't have, at least you, I don't have pressed in back for this watch. 99% of the times if you see this on the edges, it's a screw in back. Yes, I've seen cases where they fake the screw in and they actually have somewhere a bit of a deeper area where you can put something and get this out, but I think this is a pressed in. Jesus, I cannot think today, neither talk. I think this is a screwed in one. There are dedicated tools for this, obviously, but again, I'm going to use something that you might have a chance of having around if you don't have, maybe your parents have one at their house, or who knows, a neighbor. This, yes, you have a bigger chance of scratching it with this one because it's not a dedicated tool, but you get it right in there, as close as you can, as tight as you can, and lock it in place. Oh, this was really unlocked. And now what you need to do is hold it. Yeah, mine has these ends for inner holes that actually don't help me this time. You need to hold Jesus, this watch as tight as you can. Press this as hard as you can into it and start rotating. Seems to be going, but what I don't like here, I don't feel it coming up. So it's like I'm just rotating something that's pressed in. Is this actually pressed in and they faked the thread? Because normally if it actually has a thread, it's starting to lift at this point in time. They could have faked that. Shame on them if they did. But let me try a bit more and make sure that it is actually pressed in. No, they didn't. It's starting to release now. It was just extremely tight, either from factory or from somebody that changed this battery before me. Ta-na-na! And this watch, this particular caliber, AE09AA, has 3 freaking batteries. Whoa! Okay. And you kind of need to do a whole reset procedure. Okay-ish. That's interesting. So yeah, let me see how we can get these batteries out. Presumably we need to remove this top assembly, the metal, because otherwise we will not be able to replace those two right there. For that one in the middle, I think it's doable. So the screen has different batteries compared to the watch mechanism itself. Okay, I guess. Anyway, interesting. Something else that I didn't realize to mention. Have your work area really clean. Don't have anything abrasive to damage the glass of the watch or the frame. Or you could do this on a bit of a cloth or something, a t-shirt or whatever. I actually looked a bit and I don't think I need to remove this whole thing. There might be just a tiny clip in here. So if I, yeah, normally you don't want to hold this with your hand. I'm going to use this paper bag to hold it. You might be wondering why my batteries are in here. When I ordered these batteries, quite decent quality ones, in the box that they came with, something leaked from another package in the delivery guy's van, and a few of them, you see an X in here, were starting to corrode, and I cleaned every one of them with alcohol and put them in this bag like this to check in time. This didn't get any of that liquid onto them, so this should be perfectly fine. This got a little bit, but there was no noticeable corrosion, and in here were a few that had some corrosion, but I actually was able to save even those, and they were used already. So anyway, I'm going to put some of the good ones. But yeah, for the moment I just need to have this pressed without putting my finger on the mechanism, because that could start to corrode it. And let me see if I can unlock this right here, and I could. So it seems we are lucky, and oh, sorry about that, I'm a bit zoomed in and I don't know if you saw that. So it's locked. I put something under that and it pops right up, and now we are able to remove the batteries. Yes, we need to be careful when we get in new batteries. This one we can make sure somehow they fall out of here, because we don't want to make a short on the battery. That would drain a bit of its juice, and you see they were starting to corrode already. So yeah, these were left in for way too long. Anyway, there's that. Nothing that I can do now. You shouldn't, when you see a watch is not working, you shouldn't leave the batteries in there. But luckily in the watch itself I don't see any trace of corrosion, so that seems to be just fine. I will maybe just put a tiny bit of alcohol and wipe a little bit really carefully in there before putting in the new batteries. Anyway, as I was saying, we don't want to short the new batteries at all, because that would use up a bit of their juice that's in the battery, of the energy. So we need to be a bit careful when putting them in. This is a tiny brush, and I will put just a bit of alcohol on it. If you have if you don't have a tiny brush like this, make sure it's almost dry when you start poking in here. We don't want alcohol going into the screen itself. If you don't have a brush like this, a tiny one, I think I bumped into the camera, so sorry about moving image for a bit. Maybe if you are able to find a bigger one, cut a few of the bristles and use those, or with Q-tips, make sure you don't catch anything in there, like that little contact underneath, because if you catch that one and break it, well, you've destroyed the watch. So yeah, I think we fixed the situation. It's looking good. No noticeable deterioration. So yeah, important lesson, when batteries are drained, take them out. So let me get two of these batteries and be back. Normally what you want to do now, not touch the batteries with your bare hands. Have some latex gloves or something, but I do something else. I put just a tiny bit of alcohol on my hands, wash the tip of the fingers, and for a brief moment, until my skin starts to release again salts and whatnot, I have really dried up and clean fingertips, and I can actually touch the battery without leaving anything on it. Squeeze one in there as quick as you can without touching anything. So that's in there. Let me put a bit of alcohol once again on my fingers, just in case. I have quite sweaty hands usually, so I'm a bit more careful with stuff like this than most people. Others have really dry fingers, so if they clean once, they are clean for a good while. If you want to see battery type, if I could actually show it to you. They are Renata's, good quality batteries, 377. So Renata 377. Okay, and we should be in. At this point, just press this so it locks. And I think it did lock. So it's pressed in place. Just I will make sure it's properly locked. Help it a tiny bit in there. And it's after the clip, so it shouldn't be able to come out by itself. I like to double and triple check. Okay, so something of this should already be working. And it is. Cool. I really like this watch. And it has a few modes, I will show them at the end. Also I like the blue of the glass. It is a bit scratched, I got it second hand, but I still like it. Now for this one, I'm not really sure. Can we get this out of the way without... Yeah, we might be able to get it out of the way. There was an energizer in there without unscrewing it, which is great. Because most people will not have that small screwdrivers in their house. Yikes, this one is a bit more corroded. Ah, get out of here, don't leave the corrosion in there. Yeah, I kind of hate that. Luckily, it doesn't seem to have damaged the watch in any way. So it seems to be quite a decent quality watch, honestly. Again, a bit of alcohol on this. Just making sure if there's anything in there, I get it out of the way of the contacts. And yes, obviously, phone focusing on me, not the watch itself. So not really much that I can do about it. Yeah, I think we are just fine. I'm gonna put another battery in. Again, it's easier to wear gloves, honestly, but for me, gloves kind of take away all my sense of feeling, and that's why I don't really like them. But others are so used to gloves that they can handle them without any issue. Okay, so battery is pushed in. I want to make sure that I can... I might have a problem here. I was dreading that will happen. I think I need to put one end in so I can start to get this on top of it. Let me grab that from the floor. Be back. And battery is back. Again, my fingers are clean with alcohol. Let's see if I can do something like getting it in there on one side while pushing this from this end, and now just pushing it all the way down and continuing to push this. Yeah, I think I did it. Woohoo! And as you can see, I left a few fingernails on this, or maybe they were already there from previous guy that worked on it. I have no clue. And battery is pushed in. It's perfect. I will wipe this thing. Normally you do this with Q-tips. I don't think I have any. No, I do have. I know I stole some from my wife. Couldn't remember where I put them. Oh. Yes, you could use a tiny bit of alcohol, but I don't think it's required. This, I think it's stainless steel, so I don't think we need... and I didn't like the sound of that. I don't want to scratch this. Okay. we should be fine. But now I'm confused. Why do we need to press reset point quickly if it doesn't work? Okay. I guess we are resetting this. Not really sure why, but anyway. Ah, we did reset it. You saw it for a moment. It was 0, 0. Ah, so I think that's the only way you can interact with the second in the background. So normally you reset it when you check the time and it's actually 0, 0 for the seconds, but it will slowly drift over time. I never want my watches to be to the second. It's not that important, honestly. If the minute is okay, it's good enough for me. So I don't want to perfectly align second in there. And as this watch includes quite delicate PCBs and electronics to make it work, it ties in really well with today's video sponsor, PCBWay. So let's take a look at what they can do for you. PCBWay can help you with PCB prototypes, up to 14 layers, even PCB assemblies, FPCs, which are flexible PCBs, advanced PCBs, up to 30 layers. They can do CNC for you in all kinds of file formats, accepting even archives. Only limit file size below 200 megs, which is quite acceptable. They can also do SMD stencils for you. More than one version. And they also have a quite interesting module store where you can get lots of electronics for your projects. So thank you very much PCBWay for sponsoring this video, and let's get to what we are working on. And now what you can do, make sure this channel is clean, although it mostly is most times, but you need to make sure don't bend these contacts. There are some grounding for the cover. Not really sure why this watch has so much grounding on it. You can see also this is leaving a bit of fluff in the watch, so I'm not too keen about that. So channel should be just fine. What you want to do now, put this a bit further so we don't put dirt in it. Get this out of here, but do not puncture it, the seal itself. Do this only if you have a bit of silicone grease at hand or something like that. I'm not really... Oh, this wasn't properly in there. You see, it has a weird mark. So it didn't really stay that nicely in there. It got caught somehow not extremely well. If you have a bit of silicone grease, you can put it on this O-ring. You can see it has dirt in it, and it's not in the best of shapes. So honestly, at this point, if you want to have at least somewhat watertight watch, this one ain't going back. Yes, you can put it back. It will be probably dust tight, so you will not be getting too much dust or stuff like that into it. But in terms of water, yeah, you will be getting it in there. So what I will do, just because I have some, I will replace this with a new one that's in better shape and put just a bit of silicone grease on it to allow it to rotate while tightening this. I think this is what the previous guy that changed the batteries didn't do, was put a bit of silicone grease on the seal itself. So when it got tightened, it basically tried to rotate. It couldn't all the way, only some areas rotated it, and it got caught really bad in there and got deformed. So this watch for sure wasn't watertight anymore, presumably still a bit dust tight. Anyway, I don't really consider my watches watertight except for really new ones, but ones where I did change the battery, never, or second-hand ones at all, because you normally should also change the seal in here, and it gets complicated, and you then need to do a pressure test. And anyway, so let me search for one of these. So I bought this from China a while ago, and you can see there are lots of different sizes in here. They kind of fit all watches. I just need to search for the proper dimension for this particular model. More or less a 36 millimeter should do the job just fine. So let me get one of those. Keen-eyed of you might have noticed I don't have a 36. So I'm going to grab a 30 millimeter one, which is the biggest that I have. Right here. Yeah, it's significantly smaller than the previous one. But I think I can put it in here, put some silicone on it. Yes, the thickness of it seems to be a bit smaller, but considering how this looked, honestly, I don't know if this was the proper seal. Maybe somebody did replace it with a wrong seal. It seems something was really bad with it, either from missing silicone or being a bit thick and getting pushed out of the channel. I don't know. Yeah, anyway. So just a tiny bit of silicone on my finger. Rotate it in here to get it all over. Now be careful where you put your hands on the watch, because you will leave silicone marks in it. And I will put it in the channel in here and see if I get a feeling that it's big enough for it or not. In diameter for sure it isn't, but it's quite stretchy. It's gonna be a pain to get it in here, that I can tell you for a fact. And it will rotate when you are getting it in here, so that's not ideal. And an alarm on my phone coming on. Stopped it. Let me see. Yeah, that's enough. So it's bigger than the metal. That's the important thing. It's bigger than the channel it is in. So the metal does not protrude above it, it protrudes above the metal. Yeah, I'm happy with that. This should do the trick. Again, dropped that because why not? I'm not going to consider this watertight at any point in time. That's not my my goal in here. My goal is just so it's not fully opened. And at this point, I was just taking a final look at it. Seems just fine. We put this on the watch. And slowly tighten it. And I am going to tighten it with this thing once again. But I've seen many using a bit of a rubber ball, because it grips onto this surface and gives you enough torque for what you need. You do not need to have it tightened as it was when we started this. That was way too freaking tight. So I am going to use this, but really really easy, and don't overdo it, because it doesn't help with anything. I assure you, you have a bigger chance of damaging that seal than making it just by tightening this, making it watertight. It needs to be tight so seal touches in there, but not overly tight, that's for sure. But again, if you don't have any way to pressure test this, do not just drop it in water and see if bubbles come out, because if bubbles come out, and I'm scratching it, so be careful about that. If bubbles are coming out, water is going in. Okay, and this is as tight as I want it. And if water is going in, you need to open it up, dry everything out, and you will have a bad day. Normally pressure is tested by first getting this at a higher pressure inside the chamber and then lowering it in water and getting it back to room pressure. And the higher pressure in the watch will make bubbles come out, so water doesn't have any way to go in because the pressure inside the watch is higher than the pressure outside. There's a way to test this, and it's not just by dunking it in water. That's the wrong freaking way. And this is done, so let's set the time. Let's put the pin back in now. Just get it in there. Get it in one of the holes. Oh, wrong hole. And then to get it in here, you can press. There are tools again for this, but I do it with my fingers. You can press on it. Watch out, it can jump out and you again will not find it easily. You get it in there and then wiggling this around. At the end of the day we'll get that in the right hole. So it's done. At this point, this particular model, this is how it works, like a standard watch. So let's set the time. Okay. This gets a bit annoying because you need to guess where everything is. So this is not a really exact watch, as it doesn't have minute markings for it. 14:7 seems to be going backwards as easy as forwards, and it jumps when pressing it. I forgot about this one, but now that I did it, I remembered it's doing this jumping when pressing. So you need to press it a bit easier and not allow it to rotate while pressing. And I think from this, and also it will say 60. Just look at the seconds. That's a bit interesting. You don't really see 60 in other watches. You see 00 mostly. Anyway, from this button in here, you change just the way it displays things. You see? The way it shows characters. That's the only thing that this button does. And if I long press it, does it do anything? I don't think it does. I don't remember, honestly. No, still just changes the way characters are displayed. Quite interesting design, honestly. I really like this watch. I also like that the LCD is basically reversed. And that's about it. So, hope this video helps you. In which case, please give it a like, check out my other videos, and as always, see you in the next one. And yeah, please subscribe.